The GameTime Podcast is sponsored by Matt Gaddis at State Farm. Whether it's your car, home, or renter's insurance, Mac's got you covered with fast, reliable service and a personal touch that you can trust. His info is on screen right now, so reach out today and see why so many people rely on Matt Gaddis. Big thanks to Mac for supporting the GameTime Podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is your boy D-Cot coming from you from the palatial estates of whereabouts unknown. I want to talk a little bit about last night's Pacers-Bucks game, the return of Myles Turner, the game-winning shot by the Greek Freak, a.k.a. the traveling man, 6 steps with no call. I want to talk about the Pacers and their crowd and the organization, first off, on how Myles Turner has been shown, appreciated, or lack thereof. Last night, you have a young man who comes back home to Indiana after 10 years of playing basketball here in the city of Indianapolis, drafted out of the University of Texas, gave his all, gave his heart, wasn't the best post player we've ever seen in a Pacers uniform, but he gave his all for 10 years. I've sat in the stands for all 10 years of those, 10 of those years while Myles was here, listening to people say things about him, homophobic slurs, talks about how soft he is, how about weak he is, Lego man, all these negative, non-positive things. He went through trade rumor after trade rumor over the last 6 or 7 years as well. The guy gave his all to the city of Indianapolis and to the Indiana Pacers organization. Myles was out in front in the city doing a lot of things from a charitable perspective that a lot of people don't know about, and how the way the Pacers fans treated him last night by booing him. He was loyal to the Pacers. He was here for 10 years, filled out his contracts every term, didn't request a trade, accepted blame when things were there, left this past summer to go to a Milwaukee Bucks team that wanted to pay him more money than the Pacers offered him. And we boo him because he left. Now, mind you, I just said earlier how we treated him, how we spoke about him, the names that were being called about him. His dad sat in the stands not far from where we sat the last few years. He had to hear those things as well. He never got on TV and spoke about his son, never got on TV, came to his defense. He sat there and listened to it all. Some of you all may not know, Myles Turner never purchased a home in the 10 years he was here as an Indiana Pacer. My take is he probably never felt completely welcome, right? And I'm not kind of give pity for a guy who's making $26 million a year, but here's the same fan base that begged Paul George to come back after demanding a trade while under contract, and then as he's going out the door, continues to say negative things about the Pacers organization and the fans, speaking about how a small market team refuses to do anything to help the team be successful. When he went to Oklahoma City and they brought on Carmelo Anthony, it was a direct dig at the Indiana Pacers and the organization. However, we still begging this guy to come back like he's some savior, like he did more than what Myles Turner did for the Pacers. He never did. More for the city. He never did. Let's chronicle Paul George. Snaps his leg in 2014. The organization supports him. The fans support him. Cheer him on. I was at the first game he came back. Cheer him on. All great things. What does he do a year and a half later? Demands a trade after being said, I'm not going to be leaving here. I'm a Pacer for life. At a charity softball game, he says those things. He turns around and says, give me a trade after he says those things, right? He's been continually being negative about things about Indiana and the Pacers. But yet, every time he comes back, we want to act as though he's a hero. Paul George has never been an Indiana hero. He didn't do those things to be a hero. He did those things for Paul George. Secondly, we want to talk about knocking Myles Turner and booing him. Let's go back to November 2004, the Malice in the Palace. Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson. Derailed a season that many of us say was a championship season. Yet, Those three gentlemen came back last playoffs to standing ovations. I'm a fan of Ron Artest. Don't get me wrong. Fan of his hard work. I know he has some emotional challenges. But derailing this team in this city from a potential championship because of a selfish, idiotic response to someone throwing a plastic cup at you, for you to respond that way. And then for your buddies, Jermaine and Steven Jackson, to come on and act like they're the victim after what happened during that Malice in the Palace. Whatever happened after that fact, you deserved it. We talk about that. Matter of fact, since I'm on Steven Jackson, let's go back to Steven Jackson, October 2006. Shooting up Club Rio, or trying to, because you're in a spot, you're in talking mess, you get into it with some local guys, you can't handle it, so you go get your gun. Embarrass the city, embarrass the organization, embarrass yourself. Just disrespectful, fake tough guy. You're tougher than everybody else. But yet, you want pity, saying, well, you don't understand what happened. Well, tell us what happened then. You had a gun. You grabbed it. You didn't shoot it at anybody. You shot in the air. And you know the saying, if you're going to grab a gun, you better be ready to use it. I'm not talking about use it in the air, okay? So these things happen over the last 20 years of the Indiana Pacers, right? As a big Pacer fan, longtime fan. But yet, we want to sit here and knock Myles Turner fulfilling his contract, doing the best he could as a player, limited in some areas. We all understand that. And then on top of that, you got people saying this summer, after they see Mr. Huff's YMCA highlights, I see why the Pacers let Myles Turner leave. If that's not one of the most idiotic statements I've ever heard in my life, I don't know what is. Myles Turner is a good player, a rim protector, a stretch four, and a loyal player to this organization and to the city. And now what we have are a lot of our players injured. This is going to be a lost season. We understand that. But it's not due to Myles Turner and whatever his issues were, right? There was an opportunity for the Pacers to make an offer to him. They chose to lowball him. He chose to take his talents elsewhere. Don't be mad at Myles for leaving. Be mad at the organization. Be mad at yourselves and whomever else you want to speak to. But it was a business decision made once he fulfilled his contract. Remind you, Paul George didn't fulfill his contract. He wanted out prior to. We granted him that opportunity. So when you talk about loyalty and guys feeling sorry for someone, no one feels sorry for Myles Turner. I'll never feel sorry for a guy who's making that type of cash in today's climate. But it's just not the right thing based off of what he's done for the city. And I'm not talking about just for the Pacers. Out in the community, Myles Turner was a step forward. He did the right thing for the right reasons. And to welcome him back to those booths like that, pretty classless in my opinion, Indiana Pacers fans. You know, but that's what happens, right? You get emotional, you're mad at things, and you take your emotions out. You can do that, but it's still classless. And this wasn't necessary because the guy gave us everything he had. If you want to boo him, make sure the next time you see a picture of Paul George, Steven Jackson, Jamal Tinsley, Jermaine O'Neal, Ron Artest, make sure you do the same thing for those guys as well. Because if anybody's derailed things for the Pacers, it's those latter names. So just understand that. Boo if you want. You have a right to boo. It's classless. Classless for a guy who gave everything he had. That's all I've got to say. Not out.